Try to ban it.
So,
Wow.
like, we have here direct democracy, and if you collect enough signatures, it means like the whole country can vote on something. So, if we get enough, the whole country will vote whether they want that to exist or not.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that works, but like turning everyone vegan eradicates all farming and all slaughterhouses and all forms of animal exploitation at once.
What's it going to take to keep this going? Do you think you'll continue
Like
getting
vegan
more
advocacy.
is there a-
I definitely agree, but it's just like a way to raise a lot of attention to the topic of animal suffering and
Yeah.
veganism.
Factory farms are a symptom of non-veganism. Do you know what I mean? Like the cause is people not being vegan. So, like, let's just say you ban factory farms, all right? And no one's vegan. Where's the meat going to come from?
And how has I saw that you were talking to the slaughterhouse
well,
owner, I believe it was, or CEO.
They will reduce a lot of
What was the
the
conversation?
consumption, but I think.
You think that will reduce the consumption, or they get the meat imported, or they?
Yeah, we
they-
also
they-
asked that the imported meat complies with this new law that we actually.
What's a part of the law? Humane meat,
So we're asking to give a right to an animal not to live on a factory farm.
and where do they live? On a
So
on a pasture.
So it means like we're asking that it's like organic standards, but it's not the point of the initiative. We don't actually think we will win. The point is to raise awareness about the
so
suffering of
what's
animals
In factory
in
farms.
factory farms
and what has
and
it
some
done today?
people.
What's
Do you think these cows here are from factory farms?
They come from both things.
Pastures.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when we collect the signatures,
But you know what I
we
mean,
can-
though. Like all organic cows will still go to slaughterhouses and are butchered. And
Yeah.
factory farming is the main part of the problem, but it's not the cause of the problem.
Yeah.
That's a symptom of the problem. The problem is people who aren't vegan. If you're doing any type of advocacy like that, you have to have the underlying vegan message. Otherwise, people just think factory farms are the problem. But really, it's because they're not vegan and they're paying for animals to be put in slaughterhouses. And because there's a demand for flesh, that's why factory farms exist, because they have to meet that demand
Yeah.
with factories, okay? And if you target the demand, which is putting the responsibility on the consumer and saying, factory farms exist because you want to eat flesh, okay, that's why they exist. But if you go, factory farms are bad, let's ban them, it takes the responsibility off of the consumer and puts them on the factory farms, when it's the other way around. You see, the factory farms are a symptom. The cause is the consumer wanting flesh.
True.
So let's just say you ban factory farms in this country. Everyone still eats flesh. They want organic cows or free-ranging animals. The slaughterhouses here still have the business of butchering animals. Animals are still butchered. I guarantee all this cattle come from free-ranging pasture, you know. That's why vegan advocacy solves all of it, you know. So it's just something to think about if you are advocating for banning factory farms, that you
Yeah.
have a vegan message in there, because without the vegan message, it takes the responsibility away and it deals with a symptom instead of the cause, the root cause.
We really want to try to reduce suffering,
Hmm.
and yeah. We could've
Suffering
gone
is-
to the
is
initiative to
bad.
ban all the animal agriculture, but no one like would take us yet seriously, and like for example, we would not be able.
It's impossible, because
for
why would they
example-
ban animal agriculture if there's still a huge demand and those who are in power are consuming the flesh? Changing the hearts and mind of the consumer eradicates animal agriculture. But if you go outside of the consumer and try to ban all of these industries that are only existing because of the consumer, it's like it's doing it back to front. It's like the other way around. But really, we should do vegan advocacy, and that will eradicate animal agriculture. Because if you ban factory farms here, they're going to import flesh,
And now
or
we're asking that the import also implies with this law that like we're not allowing imported factory farm products.
But only imported animal corpses from organic animals that were butchered as well. Like if the whole world just ate organic butchered animals, that would still have the same amount of slaughterhouses. You know, obviously there's more land taken up for organic cattle and free-ranging pigs, and so it destroys the environment even more. Vegan advocacy is the most powerful form of activism you can do. So any initiative that you're doing should always have the underlying vegan message.
Because I'm sorry to interrupt, but I gotta work today, so I have no chance to
Oh.
probably ever meet you again. So
Thanks
I
for
wanted
coming.
to ask you for a hug. You're so great.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you coming to bear witness, and
Yes,
you know,
thank you so much for coming here as well.
I think the message that murdering, using, exploiting animals is always wrong is a much more consistent message than saying stop animal suffering in these contexts but not in slaughterhouses, because all free-ranging animals will go to the same slaughterhouse, you know what I mean? So this place will still get business if factory farms don't exist.
Sure.
Until all consumers change their minds, they will always try to meet demand somehow, because the demand is still there, won't they? So they'll still need the same amount of animals to be slaughtered if no one's gone vegan. It's just something to think about. Like if you do send out letters, maybe have some type of vegan message on there.
Like for sure, like when we collect signatures, if I collect signatures, I say that this doesn't go far enough for me, but this is the least political thing we could do right now for animals to make something for them. But I'm vegan, and this is the way to end all exploitation for animals.
Yeah.
But I think it would be huge.
Because animals suffer in there too when they're stabbed in the throat and they're
For sure.
drowning on their own blood, and they're organic, free-ranging, you know. They don't even have to suffer. And like these animals that from the small holdings farms, they're actually looked after by their carer, you know. They're looked after and fed and nurtured, and then they're sent here to drown in their own blood and have their skin ripped off of their flesh, you know. And that still exists without factory farms. Even though factory farms is 99% of the problem, the earth could not possibly meet the demand for free-ranging animals. So if you promote free-range organic flesh, it would destroy the earth. Like we literally do not have enough land, food, water to do that. So it stops one problem and creates another.
I mean, we're saying that factory farming has a lot of negative environmental impacts, and it means we will have less.
Factory farming's better for the environment.
Well,
less land
but
use.
I'm just saying, animal agriculture in general is bad for environment and stuff. Like with this initiative, we're actually trying to also reduce the consumption. I mean, it doesn't mean that there will that there should be the same amount of animals
produced.
We're trying to
reduce the consumption of food.
It's not healthy, and it's also animals are slaughtered very young, so it doesn't necessarily. They would try to.
But they would know what's the solution. It would be to eat plant-based diet, eat vegan. That would be the solution for people. So if you don't offer that solution to people, how are they supposed to know? They'll think banning slaughterhouses, banning farms is a solution. But they need to know that they're the problem.
Yeah, that's why I do activism. I think that a lot of people are not ready.
Without that information, but even if they're not ready, right? At least giving them that information, then those who are will have that information. Those who aren't ready, they're not ready. Even if you tell them to ban factory farms, they won't be ready. But they won't be ready if you tell them to go vegan either. But at least they'll have the information there that they know that going vegan solves the problem. Even no matter what they do with that information, they might not change, but at least they have the right information. Instead, so they're not pointing outside of themselves and going, "Oh, live export's a problem, but banning factory farms, that's the problem. That's how we solve this." They need to know and have the right information. Then they have the power if they do choose to do something with it. And they might start eating vegan 3 times, 4 times a week, and then that does slowly start to make a difference. But if we don't tell them the right information, how are they supposed to do anything with that? Then they start lobbying for governments to change things when really the power's in their hands. So you see, otherwise people can get confused and they start pointing outside of themselves.
Well, yeah. The point is like to try to find a way to that people start caring about animal suffering.
Mm.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can get people to care about suffering and still have a vegan message.
Of course.
Yeah. If we all have a vegan message in our advocacy, no matter what your style of advocacy is, getting people to care about suffering, go vegan. Getting people to care about the environment, go vegan. Getting people to understand what's going on in the dairy industry, go vegan. So we all have the same clear, consistent message. Otherwise, it's just an animal welfare message, where people they start to increment laws for higher welfare standards instead of eradicating these industries.